Okay, so get ready, because today we're diving into some really wild stuff, like seriously mind-bending stuff
Yeah, buckle up.
about what it means to be human.
Hmm.
We're uh, we're going deep into Yuval Noah Harari's Homo Deus.
Oh, great book.
And, like, the big question here
Yeah,
is how did humans go from, like, barely surviving, scraping by,
right.
to aiming for, like, literally becoming gods?
It's a big jump.
It's a big jump.
Yeah, and Harari, he doesn't like ease you in or anything.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
throws you right into it.
Right.
1694, France
Right.
famine.
Yeah.
Famine so bad, people were scavenging for scraps of meat
Oh, God.
from horse carcasses left on dung heaps.
Like, literally.
Dung heaps. Imagine being that desperate.
It's just, like, I can't even fathom that level of,
It's hard to
like,
imagine.
we complain about a stale bag of chips, you
Yeah.
know? These people were fighting over literal garbage just to survive another day.
And it makes you realize, right, like how far we've come.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really puts things in perspective.
And Harari, he hits you with this stark statistic. Before the 20th century, 1 in 3 children gone,
Wow.
died before reaching adulthood.
It's just, like, we think of that as
Unimaginable.
unimaginable.
Yeah.
Like a sign that something's gone terribly wrong.
A failure.
Yes.
But for most of human history, it was just like Tuesday,
It's just the way things were, yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
And I think that shift in perspective, right?
Yeah,
From just accepting fate
right.
to, like, demanding progress,
Mm,
that's a huge part of this whole journey.
absolutely.
From dung heaps to, well, maybe not quite divinity.
Yeah.
Not yet,
Mm-hmm.
but certainly a whole new level of power and control.
100%.
So how did we make that leap?
Right.
Was it just like getting smarter?
You'd think, right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we built better tools, we figured some stuff out.
More technology.
But Harari, he says it's more than that.
Oh.
It's about belief.
Belief.
Yeah,
Okay.
the power of what we believe and what we can imagine.
Interesting.
He says it's not so much about physical resources anymore.
Right.
It's about knowledge, about cooperation.
That's interesting.
Those are becoming more
Yeah.
valuable.
He uses that comparison between Rwanda, right?
Yeah.
Where they were literally tearing apart the earth, like ripping up these coltan mines for profit. And then you have China
Right.
collaborating with Silicon Valley, building these tech empires.
And look who's winning.
Exactly.
It's not about what you can dig up anymore.
So, okay, I'm with you so far, but how does this all tie back to the power of belief?
Okay, so think about it like this. Have you ever heard that analogy of a fly buzzing in a bull's ear?
Oh, yeah, the bull in a china shop.
Exactly. So the fly, it's like a terrorist, right? Like annoying, sure,
Okay.
but relatively insignificant on its own, you know?
Right.
It's the bull's reaction, the crashing and smashing, that causes the real damage.
So we spook ourselves.
Basically, we overreact.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
And that's where the stories we tell ourselves come in. Our
right.
reactions, even to things like terrorism, they're shaped by the narratives we believe in.
The stories we tell ourselves about the world.
Exactly.
So, like, these shared beliefs, these stories, they're incredibly powerful.
They really are.
Even if they're not, like, real in the traditional sense.
Think about it, money.
Okay.
Just paper, right?
Yeah.
Nations,
Well, it's on a map.
corporations.
Yeah.
They only exist because enough of us agree they exist.
That's kind of freaky when you think about it.
Isn't it? Like, we're all just playing this big game.
It's like we're all living in a giant self-imposed matrix or something.
Right. And if we're so good at creating these shared fictions,
Yeah.
what does that even mean about us?
Right. Like, what makes us human in the first place?
Like, what sets us apart from all the other storytellers out there?
Right. Like, what makes us so special?
It's the million-dollar question.
It really is.
And it's not an easy answer.
Okay, so lay it on me.
Well, you know, the usual suspects.
You're like what?
Tool-making, intelligence.
Right, like being smart.
But Harari says those things, they don't fully explain it.
So there's something else.
There's gotta be.
Okay, so what is it? What's the secret sauce?
Mm-hmm.
What catapulted us to the top of the food chain? I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Well, according to Harari, it's our ability to cooperate on a massive scale.
Cooperate.
Yeah, like with tons of people, even complete strangers.
Okay, I guess I can see that.
Right.
Like, think about it. Ants cooperate.
Right.
Bees cooperate.
Yeah.
But humans, we take it to a whole other level.
Definitely.
Building empires, like
Yeah.
global economies,
Yeah.
based on trust and these shared goals. It's wild.
It's huge. And Harari, he brings up these examples like,
Yeah.
disciplined armies.
Okay.
Throughout history, they conquer these chaotic hordes.
Right, because they're organized.
Or even think about like the collapse of Ceausescu in Romania.
Oh, wow.
Thousands of people all chanting like the same message.
It's powerful.
It's coordinated action on a massive scale.
It gives me chills just thinking about that moment,
Yeah.
When the crowd turned on Ceausescu, and it's like, that was it for his whole regime? Like the story just unraveled.
The collective imagination just shifted.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So powerful. And you're saying this all comes back to...
Shared fictions.
Right.
We've touched on it, but like Harari goes deep on this.
Okay.
Think about money.
Okay.
It's just paper, right?
Right.
Or borders of nations, especially like in Africa, where it's just like,
Just lines in the sand.
yeah, these colonial powers just drew lines.
Didn't even care about the cultures that were already there.
Totally disregarded them.
It's crazy how much conflict, like real suffering, comes from that, from these lines on a map.
But those lines, they have power.
Because we've all agreed to believe in them.
Exactly.
It's kind of a mind-blowing concept.
It really is, and it makes you wonder our relationship with animals,
Okay, I'm not sure I follow.
Like, we're out here drawing lines in the sand, saying
Whoa.
this piece of paper is worth this much.
Okay.
Are we really that different from, like, chimps throwing poop?
Okay, that's a bit of a leap, but I see what you're getting at.
It's provocative, but Harari, he makes that connection.
He does talk about industrial farming, right?
He does.
And how we treat pigs.
Compares it to
Yeah.
those Harlow monkey experiments.
Ugh, those were so sad.
Heartbreaking.
But important, I guess, for understanding.
He's not saying humans are bad, animals are good.
Right.
But it makes you think,
Yeah.
about the stories we tell.
Like about being superior to other animals.
Yeah, like, do pigs have complex social structures?
They do, actually.
Do they show empathy? Experience grief?
Yeah.
Does that change how we view something like factory farming?
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
It really makes you question everything.
It does, and it gets even trippier.
Oh, how so?
Harari, he gets into consciousness.
Okay, now we're going deep.
Like, what does it even mean to feel things?
Right.
Do other animals feel those things?
That's a question that's been around forever.
Yeah, it's like science fiction meets philosophy.
It really is. So what does he say about all that?
Well, he suggests that maybe consciousness is what happens when the brain tries to, like, model its own decisions.
So it's like a loop.
Yeah, it gets caught in this infinite loop of self-awareness.
Whoa.
It's a head-scratcher.
It really is. So our awareness of ourselves creates consciousness.
That's what he's proposing.
But then he also talks about AI
Right.
and how it can make these super complex decisions
Mm.
without any kind of feeling, without subjective experience.
Right. So what's the difference?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
We don't have all the answers yet.
I guess not.
But Harari, he argues that even if we don't fully get consciousness,
Okay.
we can't deny the reality of feeling things.
Like emotions.
Yeah, like pain.
Pain is real, that's for sure.
Exactly. It's real, whether we can measure it in a lab or not.
It's like that saying, I think, therefore I am.
Right. Like, even if our thoughts are just a bunch of electrical impulses,
It feels real.
it does. And that brings up another point.
What's that?
How much we can change our feelings.
Change them.
How?
Well, we're getting close to these breakthroughs with things like PTSD,
Okay.
depression.
Oh, like treatments.
Yeah, brain implants that directly impact emotions.
So we're talking like real-life matrix stuff here.
It's becoming reality.
That's both amazing and kind of terrifying.
Right.
Like, what happens to free will if we can just engineer our feelings?
Exactly. And that's where Harari brings in humanism.
Okay, so not just like being a good person.
No, like a whole philosophy.
Tell me more. So humanism, it's like the dominant religion of our time. It's a way of thinking about the world. The idea is that human experience, the things we feel, the things we create, that's what gives life meaning.
So it's like instead of looking to a god or something outside of ourselves for meaning.
We find it within ourselves, yeah.
Okay, I think I'm getting it.
And that belief, it shapes everything.
Everything.
From
right.
the art we enjoy
Okay.
to the political systems we create.
It's like, I'm thinking about that movie Ulysses.
Okay.
It's all about this guy's inner journey, his thoughts and feelings.
Right.
Are you saying that's connected to like something like Survivor?
In a way, yeah.
How so?
Because it's all about tapping into that same well of human experience.
So whether it's like high art or reality TV,
Exactly.
we're still drawn to those raw human experiences.
They are, but here's the thing. Humanism, it comes in different flavors.
Flavors. Like what?
Well, you've got liberalism, which is all about individual rights and freedoms.
Right, like you do you.
Exactly. Then you have socialism, which prioritizes the collective good.
Okay, so more like we're all in this together.
Exactly. And then there's evolutionary humanism, which sees struggle and competition as essential for progress.
So like survival of the fittest kind of
In
thing.
a way, yeah.
So with all these different flavors of humanism, how do we know which one is right,
That's the thing. There's no one right answer.
really?
It's more about understanding that there are different ways to interpret what it means to be human.
Okay, so instead of looking for the right answer,
Right.
it's more about understanding that there are just different perspectives.
Exactly. And each perspective has its own implications. Especially as we enter this new era where technology allows us to engineer not just our experiences,
Okay.
but our desires themselves.
Okay, that's where I get a little scared.
Yeah, it's getting pretty wild.
It's like, are we talking full-blown Matrix situation here?
It might sound like science fiction, but it's closer than you think.
Really?
We've already got experimental treatments for PTSD and depression.
Right, you mentioned brain implants.
And those treatments can literally alter people's emotional responses.
So you're saying we could potentially take that technology,
And scale it up.
so instead of just treating depression, we could make someone feel happy all the time.
Theoretically, yes.
Even if they have, like, every reason to be miserable.
It's a lot of power.
That's a terrifying amount of power.
And it raises those questions about free will.
Right, if we can just engineer our feelings.
What happens to personal responsibility, to our sense of self?
It's like, if our choices are just the result of algorithms, whether it's our biology or some engineered implant, what does that even mean for us? Like, are we even in control of our own lives?
It's a big question, and it's one that datism tries to address.
Datism.
This new philosophy Harari talks about.
Okay, remind me what that's all about again.
Datism, it says that the universe is basically just beta,
Okay,
and that value is measured by data processing.
so like the more data we process, the more valuable something is.
In a way, yeah. It's kind of a radical idea.
It sounds like something out of the Matrix, honestly.
It does, but here's the thing. It's already shaping our lives.
Really?
Yeah.
How so? Give me some examples.
Think about how your social media feed seems to know what you're thinking,
Okay, yeah.
suggesting posts and ads based on your interests.
That is kind of creepy.
That's dataism at work.
It's like those algorithms know us better than we know ourselves sometimes.
And it's not just social media.
What else?
Self-driving cars,
Okay.
AI investment firms.
So like algorithms are making big decisions.
They're already outperforming humans in some areas.
It's kind of scary when you put it like that.
So the question becomes, what happens when human progress, like our ability to innovate and make things better, what happens when that becomes obsolete?
That's a chilling thought
It is, and it brings us back to that fundamental question.
about what it means to be human.
Exactly. If we're just data points, do our personal experiences, our emotions, all the things that make us feel like individuals, do those things even matter?
So what's the answer? What do we do? Do we just, like, surrender to the algorithms? Except that our fate is all predetermined by lines of code.
Harari doesn't give us any easy answers.
Typical.
But he does suggest that understanding the relationship between science and religion might be key to navigating this future.
Science and religion. Those two seem like they're always at odds with each other.
They are, but they're both searching for truth, just in different ways.
Okay, I can see that.
Religion is about finding order and meaning,
Okay.
while science is about power and control.
Right, so how do we make them work together?
Harari says it's about respect, respecting each other's domains.
So, like, science can advance our understanding of the universe.
And religion can help us grapple with the ethical implications of that knowledge.
So it's not just about what we can do.
It's about what we should do.
Right, like with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Exactly.
Wow, this deep dive into Homo Deus has been a wild ride.
It makes you think.
It's challenged me to think differently about everything, honestly.
It's about asking those big questions.
It really is. And on that note, to our listeners out there,
Yeah.
think about the things you do every day, the choices you make,
From the food you eat.
to the careers you pursue.
Are you following a script?
Or are you writing your own story?
It's something to ponder.
This has been The Deep Dive, asking the big questions and challenging you to think differently.
Until next time.
Keep exploring.